Hey everybody, Sal Mercogliano from What's Going On with Shipping here. I apologize. I was going to get this started at 8 p.m., but I am running a little late. I was actually at a fire myself. So volunteer firefighter. So sometimes we do get called out. So real quick, if you have questions for this evening, want to do a quick little update on what is going on with the motor vessel ONE Henry Hudson, which right now is sitting off the coast. Give you an image of her that we have here. There we go. So let me make that a little bit better for you. Let's fix that a little bit better there. Screen. Let's just do the window. Be good. There we go. Do that a little bit better for you. Make that. There you go. So that was an image from today of ONE Henry Hudson. She was moved off the berth late last night and has been moved out to an anchorage just off the port of Los Angeles. Matter of fact, let's go take a look at what we have here over from marine traffic for you. So let's share that screen with you here. So here is the position right now of Henry Hudson off the port of LA. You'll see she has a kind of a large gathering of boats around her right now. So Long Beach fireboat number 20 right now is with her. My discussion I've had with a couple of people today, and I've been talking to people all day regarding this. Long Beach fireboat 20, Long Beach fireboat 15, and LA fireboat 2 are taking 4-hour shifts. So they're rotating the boats right now out there at the fire scene, and they are providing cooling water on board the vessel while it is kind of smoldering still out there. You'll see some other vessels out there. Coast Guard cutter Barracuda is out there. LA police boat number 42 is out there. LA police boat number, let's see, it looks like 30 is out there, along with LA police boat. There's a tug out there. Looks like a tug Jamie Ann. I would assume the tug Jamie Ann was probably being used as a platform for control, maybe some command control. Another tug out there, Barbara J. Mulholland, and another tug out there, the Z3, probably standing by in case they need to do some maneuvering on the ONE Henry Hudson. I want to show you the movement of the ship yesterday coming out of LA and what transpired yesterday. So this is showing you the port of LA and Long Beach. ONE Henry Hudson is up here, all the way up at the northern berth here in the YTI terminal, undergoing a discharge. My understanding is she was supposed to be offloading through, I believe, Sunday, and then she was going to depart. So here you see the arrival of the initial fireboats. I'm going to go back here a second. Let this rewind a second here for us. Let me go back here a second. So here are the LA fireboats for those of you who don't know. So right down here, I'm sorry. There we go. So right down here, close by the passenger terminal, this is where the LA fireboats are. They're right here in this station. We zoom out here a little bit. This is where ONE Henry Hudson is. For those you don't know, ONE is the Ocean Network Express. So the time we have here, apologize, I got to put my glasses on because I am an old man, is 22 November at 02:47 UTC. So UTC is GMT Standard Time. We know that was roughly around 6:47 p.m. last night. So we're seeing the initial dispatch here. So LA fireboat number 2 was the first one out. And we're going to go look at the dispatch that came out from the LA Fire Department here. I'm going to go ahead and let that run here. Here we see fireboat number 3 coming in, and we're seeing all the fireboats now come in very rapidly on the fire. So you've got LA fireboat 2, LAFD fireboat 23, number 5 right there. And at this point, they're working that fire. They will be working the fire. Long Beach Fire Boat 20 also came in and was very quickly let go. So this is about an hour and a half into the fire at this point that we see this. And this is where we covered last night, showing you where the fire extinguishment was done. And I'm going to come into the issue about moving the ship here in a minute. I know everybody's got questions about why was the ship moved off. I talked about last night that I didn't think the ship would be moved off. I was incorrect. I am not a all-seer, all-knower knowledge of everything. But they decided to move her off, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. So this is the fire being waged by them. If you have questions, please feel free to submit them. Just capitalize them in the notes there so I can grab them out here real quick as we go. So I can make sure I can identify any questions you guys have. I know there's probably a batch of questions going on regarding the fire from last night. So here we go. Did you get a chance to hear the scanner from overnight? No chance. No, you're not yelling. You're fine. I have listened to part of the scanner, but I've talked with people who are firefighters who listen to the scanner all night. So for those who don't know, scanner is what picks up the radio communication. So a couple of things real quick. I'm going to pause this. We're going to come back to this in a second here because I want to pull something up over here on my other screen for you. So the LA Fire Department was dispatched out last night. And I listened to the initial dispatch out. Excuse me. I listened to the initial dispatch out, and I listened to their responses. And I want to say this, that LA Fire Department did an excellent response. I think they probably set the bar here for a response coming to a fire. This is the initial response. 6:38 p.m. came out from San Pedro. Fire on container ship ONE Henry Hudson. Ship's crew reports an electrical fire originating below decks. Several additional LAFD resources have been attached to this incident, including heavy rescue, hazmat, USAR, fireboats, air ops, Long Beach Fire, and Port PD are also en route. And what you see here is all the dispatch: Fire Station 40, Battalion 6, the South Bureau. I'm not going to read them all, but it's a pretty extensive list that went out last night. And this is the very first incident update that you got. Later on at 7:13, they provided another update. Approximately 124 LAFD personnel attached to the incident. Approximately 84 already working the scene. Fire had been observed on several levels of the ship. The Port Police Department and Customs are reporting to assist with deboarding the 23-person crew on board this 1,100-foot dock ship. Now, I will note that they did not disembark all the crew. 6 of them remained on board last night. And based on the scanners, they were using the crew to assist them on 2 things. One, providing power for the vessel. And second, giving them direction on where to go in the vessel. A ship is a labyrinth. If you do not know your way around the ship, you are going to get lost pretty quickly. So that's going to be a major issue right there. We go on here, 7:30. Hazmat companies are monitoring air quality as suppression efforts continue on the ship's sublevels. Crew members are attempting to assist the fire companies with complicated access, including below deck. And I have to say that again, I think it's a very difficult thing. The PIO, the Public Information Officer, Adam Van Gerpen, gave a briefing last night. I thought it was pretty good. Could not give a ton of information, which is not surprising. I mean, this is a fairly typical thing that they will not always give a lot of information, but I thought it was good. I was kind of surprised the Coast Guard did not provide more information. Go through the briefings here a little bit more here. So at about 8 p.m. last night, the fire can be seen outside the ship in several bays at the time. Hazardous materials have been identified in involved bays per the ship's manifest. So one of the things we got from the communication from the scanner was that the ship's crew was working with the fire department there to provide them with a hazardous material manifest. So manifests on ships are really important. It tells you what is in every box on the ship. And one of the things that we saw happen last night was a concern about some hazardous material that was up forward. Excuse me, I'm going to use a prop for right now. This is my favorite prop right here. This is my Lego container ship right here. So we're going to use this prop. The way this ship kind of was laid out last night was kind of like this up forward. And I'm going to kind of bring this up here so you can kind of see it here. I apologize trying to get this maneuvered here. Here we go. Let me go this actually, because you're not seeing this very well. Let's do this. Hang on one second. There we go. So let me bring this over here so you can see it a little better. Sorry. So here, Lego container ship. So our ship last night was kind of configured like this. There was a container stack up forward. There was actually a couple of them. These are bays. We call them bays on a container ship. They had already started working this container ship. So she was missing a batch of containers on board. They were working the bays pretty well on board the ship. But we're looking here up forward. The stack that we're in question with is one of the forward ones, but the bay forward of it and the bay aft of it had been emptied. And what we believe the fire was below this. We think the fire was down here in the interior, right about here. They say an electrical fire, but we also know there was an explosion on board. One of the longshoremen sent me a note saying that they distinctly heard an explosion on board the ship. That indicates to me it's probably a container down here underneath the stack where we saw the smoke coming out. And these holes have bulkheads in them. So there are bulkheads here, 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 and here. So you have kind of watertight protection, but you also have air quality, airtight connections there. And the containers inside are stacked inside like you see them on top. So what you saw last night with them shooting water here at the side of these containers is they're trying to cool these containers. They're trying to push cold through the containers and prevent the containers here from heating up too much. You're not really going to need to hit the side of the ship too much because for a couple of reasons. Number one, the containers aren't really touching the side of the ship. They're inside of it. So this is the hull, plus the hull is getting cooling from the water it's in anyway. So they're trying to keep these deck containers from lighting on fire. Next thing you want to do is boundary control. And this is what they were working last night. The LA Fire Department did a really good job at this. They put their aerials up on the shore side. So they bring their big ladder trucks in and they put their ladder trucks in so they could access the sides of the ship here. And at the top of those aerials are hook-ons so you can hook your water hoses to it. And so what they want to do is get on these brown things, these lattice bridges here, and be able to spray down into the side of the, into the side of the vessel here and be able to cool the hull. So they want to cool both sides, the port and starboard side, and they want to cool forward and after the hull. And what they're trying to do is keep the fire contained. What you do not want to do is go into the holds. You don't want to open up that hatch. And if you open that hatch, you're introducing air into it and you can get a flashover, a backdraft, and you cause a larger fire than what you have. In shipboard firefighting, the name of the game is defensive. Defensive. Matter of fact, last night, interesting conversation on the scanner. Up forward, they had some dangerous goods, some hazardous material in these forward containers. Now, that's not too unusual. You usually see a lot of hazardous material, dangerous goods up forward on a ship, but they're always scattered throughout the ship. And again, ships carry hazardous material all the time. Aerosol bottles, that's a hazardous material. Lithium-ion batteries, hazardous material. There are hazardous materials throughout the vessel. But they noticed that there was dangerous goods, hazardous materials up forward. There was a discussion last night about potentially using the cranes and offloading these containers and taking them off. They did not do that for a couple of reasons. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but my guess would be this. You have to have a person in the bucket up above making those pickoffs. Well, that puts that person in a very dangerous position for a couple of reasons. Number one, heat coming up. Second, smoke. We know smoke was bad. We're going to talk about that for a minute because that's what leads you to move the ship off the berth. And three, visibility. It's going to be really hard to be visible on the ship. So that if you're making your picks, you've got to be able to see the person in the bucket literally is on that ship-to-shore crane coming down, picking up the box and pulling it off. And then you got to work it on the pier too. And if you watched last night, there was a lot of apparatus on the pier. It's been really tough to do it. It's an interesting scenario to do that. I think that's a one that's going to go in the books right there. The other thing they were watching last night, really important, is they were flooding a lot of water onto the ship. Now, this is a big ship. This is an 1,100-foot ship carrying over 8,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units. These are usually 40 foots, what you see, so 2 TEUs. The ship showed a decrease at the bow of about 1 meter, about 3 feet. That's not a lot on a ship this size. And most importantly, the ship has ballast control so that you can trim the ship fore and aft and port and starboard. So they had kept that ship's crew on board. This ship did not have the ship is a little bit off from what the one we were using here, but it gives you a kind of idea with it. I'm going to put my prop over here on the side for a minute. Get it out of the way. So I want to go to answer some questions here about this. So this is the big question. Christopher asks, why did they move her? Is the port not better with the land available? I 100% agree. That's kind of was my opinion last night, that I said that I thought they were going to kind of leave her there up against the berth. And that would have been probably the move, I think, that would have been it. But what changed was this. Kind of pull this up here for you. Hang on one second here. Is this came in last night. So let me show you this. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Sorry, I'm trying to pull something up here for you. One man show here sometimes. There we go. So this is get my butt out of the way here, and let's take this down. This is the shelter in place order that came in from San Pedro. This was at 12:01 a.m. So they put in place a shelter in place order. So immediately enclose all windows. Basically, they told everyone, due to the hazmat incident resulting from the nearby container fire, get inside immediately, close all windows and doors, turn off your air conditioning and heating, bring all people and pets to an inside room until you receive more instructions. And I believe this is the area right here. So this was a substantial area in and around the port. This encumbered the entire downtown area around the port. This is the port of LA right here. Long Beach is right here. This is where the fire was taking place. So they were dealing with an air quality issue, and LA is very cognizant of this issue concerning air quality. If you go back to 3 years ago now, when we had 109 ships off the port of LA, there was big concerns about the port of LA. And the concern they had was that the air quality is going to basically degrade and cause problems. So I think there was a couple of reasons they moved her off the berth. I think number one, there is the issue of the air quality. Air quality was an issue. I talked to people who were in and around the area yesterday and today. They talked about the very kind of acid and kind of a scratchy a taste and metallic taste they had in their mouths from that fire. I'm going to go ahead and play this for a minute. Let this run. This is, again, a replay from marine traffic of the event taking place. Zoom in here a little bit for you. That is LA Fireboat 2. That is the Long Beach Fireboat there. That is both Long Beach fireboats coming in. This is when they're getting ready to move her off the berth last night. And we're going to hold it right there because I want to talk about that. So there was a lot of concerns about the air quality in the area. And I think that air quality was a major issue, although I don't think it was the only issue, because I'll show you right now. So this is them getting ready to move ONE Henry Hudson off the berth. So you have Fireboat 15 from Long Beach, Fireboat 20 there, and you have a couple of tugs coming in right now. And they're going to get ready to start moving her off. Now, they did not use the ship's engines last night, because you would have required the crew up on the bridge to do this. And so instead, what they did is they brought tugs on board. They still had to get crews on board to hook lines onto her to take her off. But they decided late last night to take the decision to move the vessel out of the berth and bring her out to anchorage. Now, that does a couple of things for you. Number one, you lose that ability to get on and off the vessel very easily. Here come those tugs right now. Jamie Ann, the Barbara Mulholland coming in, Tim Sugg moving in. You see them getting ready to kind of get her and move her off the berth. You lose that ability to fight the fire from shore. That is a major loss, I will tell you. It's a big problem. I don't think they were overly, here she is coming off the berth now. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here so you can watch her movement coming out of the harbor. They turn her around the basin. They would have had to have a pilot on board. They probably brought the ship's crew back on board to move her. And this period of time, I'm going to hold it right here for a second. Here she is. She's just passing Battleship Iowa. It is 12:02 UTC time. So I think it's about a 6-hour difference over there to them. So this is about early morning. She would have been coming out here. You can see them heading to the breakwater at this point, and they're going to head out. Ship's crew had to be on board because they're going to anchor her out here. I'm going to shift over to our navigation chart here. Yep, here she is coming out to the anchorage, holding anchorage right there off. What is very interesting to me is this. So as soon as she's off the berth and out of the way, in comes the container ship Everlasting. The ports open back up. As soon as the ship is off the berth, the port opens up. Here comes Everlasting. She's going to come up here pretty close to where ONE Henry Hudson was. Oh, no, excuse me. She's coming into the berth down here. She's coming into Pier 300 here. Oh, excuse me, Pier 500. The other big one was this one here. I'm going to hold it right here. Is the Royal Princess is coming in. Cruise ships come in on Saturdays into the region. If the port was closed and you have a lockdown in place, no one's going to get down to the port terminal down here. I mean, they basically told everyone to hold in place. So here comes the Royal Princess in. There's going to be another cruise ship comes in. I think that the reason they moved her off berth is to open up the port again. Again, I don't have proof of that, but it's a very big indication here for me that the port literally opened up almost as soon as they got off, as soon as they moved ONE Henry Hudson out of the way. Fireboats are there. We got fireboats. As I said to you before, that there's going to be a fireboat on scene the entire time. Let's go over here. I was listening to the LAFD scanner overnight as they fought the fire, then towed her out. Question, a fire like this means the ship is destined for scrap, most likely. Where will it be towed to? She's not going to be scrapped. I can almost guarantee you are not going to scrap this vessel. This vessel is worth too much money, and the damage is going to be very localized. Damage is up in that forward compartment on the ship. More than likely, what they'll do is bring the ship in for a survey after this is done. They're going to have to unload her to do the survey. But what they'll do next here, and this is a really big thing, is they're going to hire a marine salvage company to come in. So the LA Fire Department, along with Long Beach, will continue to provide fire suppression here and contain the fire. In the meantime, the ship's operating company and insurance company will have contacted a salver company to come in to work the salvage. I am hearing it's Don John. That is the company that I'm hearing is coming in. That is a very reputable company. It's a huge company. They do a lot of salvage, marine salvage, and they're going to come in and probably be the ones who do that. Next question, does the crew pump out the water being poured on the fire? So a lot of the water you saw last night was spilling off the deck. And so we saw a lot of water coming in off the deck. I want to find you a story here from, I think it was NBC, did a, let's see what they have. They had a fire. NBC4 did a story, I think, earlier today. And I want to show you the video that they had, because the video is really the key here. I'm not really too much worried about the audio as much here. Let me see if I can pull this up here for you. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull video here that was done last night, or this morning, I should say, that shows you the fire on the ship. So when the fire is burning, there actually, there was a couple of things that was happening. One of the key was water will run off the ship typically. That is something that you will see happen all the time. Most of that water is just cooling water. It's hitting the side of the containers and then it's coming off. So it's not really being pumped out. Water that accumulates in the hold. So grab my model here a second again, and let's go back to that for a second. So water that starts accumulating here in these holds, it can be pumped off. It'll actually be pumped into a bilge. So a holding tank. And then ships cannot just pump water straight off into areas. It actually has to be run through systems. You can't just pump pure water. They can, but you're not supposed to. And they would only do that in emergency. So one of the things that I think they wanted to move her out of Dominguez Channel is because of questions about some of that runoff and potential contamination being done on the ship. So if you do have a question there, feel free, either highlight it as a question, or if you can, just capitalize it. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sal Mercogliano. I run a YouTube channel called What's Going On with Shipping. Yes, there is actually a YouTube channel just about shipping, and I've been running it now for 4 years, since the Ever Given incident back in March of 2021. So let's see what we got here. Let's see. How common are fires like these, and are they happening more often? So that is a excellent question, by the way. That is a question that gets asked quite a lot here recently. I'm going to give you the map here and show you where everything is right now and what's going on in and around. This is a live feed right now from an AIS, automated information system, showing you all the boats in and around ONE Henry Hudson. So fires are the big concern right now. I would tell you that shipping has never been safer than it is today. It was common about 10 years ago, we would lose a ship a week around the world, a major ship. We're probably down to about 20 ships, between 10 and 20 ships a year now that you lose. However, fires are really become a new major hazard because of the type of cargo. And I tend to think, by the way, that this is not an electrical fire on the ship. I tend to think that this is a fire that originated down in the cargo hold with a container. That explosion that we heard reported, I think that is a major concern right there. And I think you would not have an explosion in a container caused by an electrical fire. I think there was something that basically initiated the issue. So I'm going to pull it. There we go. So this is actually from the ABC7 affiliate here. Let me shift over here for a second and pull you up this one. Pull this up for you here. Let's see, share screen. Sorry. I'm not going to have the audio running here, but one of the things they'll show you is that water extinguishment right there. And you'll see it. Let me get past the initial report here. Here we go. So you'll see right there, and I'm going to hold it right here because the pause is perfect. Right here, you see all that water coming out here. This is water coming out of the scuppers on the side of the ship. So this water that's coming from the fireboat right here, each of those monitors you see right there is probably spraying about 2,000 to 3,000 gallons of water a minute there. So these fireboats that LA and Long Beach have are some of the biggest. Matter of fact, the LA fireboat is probably one of the biggest out there. LA fireboat number 2, 38,000 gallons per minute it can spray. So what you see here is this bay right here. So the forward bay is empty on the ship. They have already taken containers out of these forward bays. This bay right here with these smaller containers, these 20-foot containers, this is the one they were concerned with having kind of the dangerous goods on board, the hazardous material goods. And then these two bays right here, underneath those is where we believe the fire is. And what you're seeing here is smoke coming up through the hatches. Now, these containers they're waterproof. They're designed to basically go across the ocean. So they're kind of, resistant to water. So what you're doing right here is just cooling. And so the water from these are actually going to be running off. Now, there is water that's going to start coming down into the open bays. There's an open bay here just forward of the fire area and one open bay just aft. So you're going to start getting water down there. And I'll be clear, you can fill those up till water spills out the side. You're not going to sink this ship. This is a 1,100-foot ship, over 100,000 gross tons, 100,000 displacement tons. You're not going to sink it. And by the way, you can see how high the vessel is. Vessel is a little bit lower down forward. One of the things we had noticed last night is the bulbous bow was sticking up out of the water. Not so much right now, but we see it still there. Starboard anchor is down. You can see the starboard anchor is down, so they've got their anchor down. The crew will be on board, so they probably brought that crew back out to the ship. Let's see what we got here. Hazmat on board, batteries. Definitely hazmat on board. Definitely batteries on board. Can guarantee you that. This is why last night when I went out, I'm on the East Coast, so it was a little late for me. I think I tuned out or tuned off about 12:30 last night, maybe about 1 o'clock. They had not moved the ship yet, but one of the things I said was, even though the fire looked like it was getting under control, you never turn your back on a fire. You just never ever turn your back on it for fear that something will come back and bite you. As you see here, there are a lot of containers. These are 5 high, and I think I did the count last night. I think it is 17 across. That's 8, that's 10, 12, 14, 16, excuse me, 18 across. That's 18 across. So you're looking at, 18 across times 5 times 2. That's almost 180. It's not exactly, but almost 180 containers right here just above deck. You'll have the same number probably below deck down there. So you're talking about roughly, almost 400 containers that are in question here, that are involved in one way or another in this fire. And the cargo on board will be a variety of cargo. This ship would be loaded because it came from Asia. This ship is an ONE ship. It's on a service that has a route from Singapore over to Nagoya, Osaka, and Tokyo. I may have Nagoya and Osaka backwards, but she came from Tokyo before coming into LA. She will dump her entire load here in LA. So nearly all these containers will be full. There's probably no question that these containers are loaded here. And again, if you do have a question, please feel free. Just go ahead and if you can, just capitalize them so I find them in my feed here a little bit better. It's always a little bit of a chore to find them. Hazmat on board. I think I just did that one. I saw. Apologize. How and when will the NTSB investigate? So we have an investigation going on right now over in the port of Long Beach. If you don't follow my channel, a couple of weeks ago, we had a ship come into Long Beach, the motor vessel Mississippi, and it dropped over 100 containers in the water. So the NTSB will start doing an investigation. They will bring this ship back into port or find a berth for it somewhere where they'll be able to do an investigation. Like I said, I think because of the hazardous smoke and the fear for the population and the fact that it was closing the port, they decided to go ahead and move her out to the anchorage. On the scanner, they evacuated the fire crews from the deck and switched to ladder monitors as they discuss hazmat in Bay 21. So that's pretty typical right there. If you fear a hazmat incident or hazmat cargo is on board, you're going to get defensive. There is zero reason to risk. Here's an image of her coming out last night. So this is from ABC 7's feed here of her coming out last night. So you would not want to risk them. Understand, there was a fire 2 years ago in New Jersey on board a ship, the Grand Costa d'Avorio. And Grand Costa d'Avorio, this is the public information officer giving his talk last night. The Grand Costa d'Avorio was a ship carrying basically junk and used cars to Africa. And 2 Newark firefighters died in that fire because they went interior and they didn't need to. I want to comment on this a little bit. A lot of people were talking like, hey, these containers here are on fire. Why are they not putting water on top of the containers? That's not those containers on fire. That is smoke emanating between the stacks here. So again, I'm going to use my good old kind of Lego blocks here for a second with you. So my container Lego blocks right here. Kind of get a little closer here. This is a wrong shipping company too. Sorry, Maersk. I do not have an ONE Lego ship. But basically what will happen is these stacks just go straight up and down on the ship like this. So they're actually tied in at the corners here. So unlike Legos that have all the little dots on them and everything, they just have the corners here that hold them in place. There's typically lashings on here. So there'll be wire lashings that kind of go like little X's here, but they'll be on the bottom stacks, not on the upper stacks. And smoke's going to come up between those containers. Now, one of the things they do need to be kind of concerned with here, and it was discussed last night on the scanner, is if the ship begins to take a list, what you don't want to be is on the side where the containers are going to list, and then the containers may conceivably begin to fall off. That's what happened with motor vessel Mississippi just recently in the port of Long Beach. So they're very careful about that. Here's something to get you a nice drink after the video. Thank you, Sal, for all the trusted information over the years. Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Plus £5. That's again much more than $5. I definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Just going through some questions. If it was electrical, how did the containers catch fire? Yeah, again, I think ship's crews are going to say what they think it is. There was probably an electrical disturbance of some kind, and that was probably from the heat or the potential container explosion that happened below deck. We're not going to know anything until crews are able to get below deck, but they are not going to get below deck here until they know that the temperature has reduced substantially. Until the temperature has reduced substantially, you do not want to open it. So question, is the U.S. Coast Guard involved? Yes, Coast Guard is involved. They are providing right now a cordon around the ship. Coast Guard controls the water. They are basically in charge of everything that moves on the water. So Coast Guard would have that oversight. But Coast Guard doesn't do shipboard firefighting. That's going to be up to local and municipal fire departments. And as I mentioned to you earlier, in case you're tuning in now, we believe that the company has made an agreement with a salvage company, Don John, to come in and conduct this salvage of the vessel. Let's see. So right here, I've been flabbergasted from the beginning of this. They have not attempted to remove the top containers to provide access to the fire. Mike, they don't want access to this fire. They really don't, because what they want to do is keep the vessel cool and lower that temperature so it's safe to open up that hatch. Understand, if you put your person in a bucket over the top of that container stack, you're exposing them to heat, to maybe toxic gases, and you are also not going to have the greatest visibility down there. And while I am sure we can get an ILWA Local 13 longshoreman to go up there, and even maybe don a SCBA, I don't think that's the safest prospect there. Because if you start moving containers and if something goes wrong and the container comes off, you may actually cause more problem than it's worth. I would think there was a lot more. Thanks for Sal. I appreciate that, Jimmy. You're no problem. I'm happy to help here. Let's see. Next model. I appreciate that. So let's go on here. Question here. Let's go on over here. Is this the same berth as the ship that had the stack collapse? No, the stack collapse actually happened over. Let me shift you over to here for a second. Hang on a second. Let me pull up marine traffic here for you. 1 second. Let's pull this up here for you. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in. I know you probably have better things to do on a Saturday night than stay here looking at my computer screens. So real quick, I'll show you where she was. So ONE Henry Hudson was up here at the YTI facility. This is right here, basically up here on the Dominguez Channel. The Mississippi was right over here. This is over in the Long Beach terminal. So right over here is where she is. She's no longer there right now. So she is out there. I'm going to go ahead and do my replay again here. Let's pull it back to yesterday. Show you the replay here. This is the port of LA and Long Beach in operation. This is ONE Henry Hudson right up here. So you'll be able to see the ships as they kind of move in over here. Those of you who don't know, marine traffic provides you this kind of real-time coverage. And here you start seeing the fireboats come in. Fireboat number 2 deployed right over here, very close by. And what we start seeing here is the fireboat operations begin to take place here. You'll see the Long Beach Fire Department come in with their fireboat and provide a lot of assistance here. Hopping along here, I'm going to look at some questions here. Hey, Sal, I just became a merchant mariner 3 months ago, but nobody is really hiring. Why? Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, Corey. I would ask what union you're with. I know some of the unions are hiring. If you're with the SIU, the Seafarers International Union, They should be able to get you out. If you're a deck side, maybe with AMO or MMP, definitely check with them. If you want, feel free, drop me a line, Corey. I have my email and all my videos. Feel free, drop me a line, and I can see what I can do to help you. Because again, I think that there's everyone I talk to is talking about the shortage of mariners out there. How are the rescue costs charged? Does the city charge the ship? Then they file to insurance. So they are using the fire department without a reimbursement here. Now, the fire department may charge the salvage company when they get into the salvage later on. But there is going to be a big insurance claim here. There is no doubt of that, because the disruption in the port, the delay in cargo getting offloaded, that is going to happen. Now, the ship has what's called protection and indemnity insurance. That P&I insurance will cover any damages to the cargo. So if there's a late getting off, or if the cargo is damaged in any way, that will be covered. There's a very unusual thing in shipping called what's called general average, where a ship may actually sit there and say, hey, all the cargo has to take a share in repairing the damage. And so if you have cargo on the aft end of the ship that's not even involved, you may get charged a surcharge just because of the damage to the ship. Sal, did the crew get training on using an SCBA for air to help fight the fires? It's supplied by the LAFD. No, ship's crew, which is 23 people on board, are all trained firefighters. Every mariner, every sailor is a firefighter. The problem you have on a ship's crew about firefighting is this. While they undergo training, they don't have a lot of real practical experience in fighting fires. Plus, 23 people on a ship. At most, you may have 6 people available, maybe 10 to fight a fire, while the rest of that crew is actually engaged in operating the vessel. I said it last night, and I'll say it again. This is them actually moving the ship off the berth here. You'll see her head out here now. They swing her around in the channel, and they begin to take her out. And she's going to head to that anchorage, and just watch how soon ships start coming back into the harbor as soon as she is clear. But the ship's crew will have training. Now, in this case, they kind of turned everything over to the LAFD. And I will say LAFD last night, listening to people, and I talked to firefighters who listened to the scanners. They really complimented LAFD. They set up their operational control. They had an incident command system set up. They set up their zone boundaries. They set up their water systems. They had everything going. Just join question current status. So ONE Henry Hudson is off the port of LA at anchor. Fire suppression is ongoing. Let me go ahead and take you back over to the image here that we got from one of the local news affiliates here. That's showing you here. I apologize. I'm going to show you this image again. I know you've seen this already, but it's a good image here of it. So go ahead and let that play there. So if you have a question, please feel free. It's one of the reasons I did this tonight. I thought I'd get on for maybe about an hour. We're about 43 minutes in. The fire tetrahedron is important to understand. If you aren't familiar with firefighting, Class Delta fires are a huge concern with ships. So for those of you who don't know, and I had this quiz last night for myself. I was trying to remember. I hope I had to get my classes right. Class A is kind of like solid material, wood and combustible material. Class B is petroleum. This is actually them taking the ship out last night. Class C is liquids, and Class D is burnable, basically combustible metals. And what the fire tetrahedron is, we used to talk about the fire triangle, where you have heat, you have fuel, and you have oxygen. The tetrahedron is all of them coming together. And what you're trying to do on board the ship right now is cool it down. You're trying to remove the heat. That's what you're trying to do. And you're also trying to deprive it of oxygen. And one of the things is, if the fire is big enough down below in the inside of the vessel, so I'm going to hold it here for a second. We believe the fire is basically burning below these stacks. You'll see over here just astern here. These are the hatches. These are 2 of the 4 hatches that are in place right here that cover these huge cavernous hatches, the bays where the containers are. For those of you who haven't seen it again, I apologize, but I'm going to bring it out again. My handy dandy Lego ship model here. This is not Maersk. It's on fire. It's ONE. We said before that up forward, we believe the ship had some hazardous material, dangerous goods. There was a lot of concern about these containers up forward. So they did a basically very defensive attack. They cooled these containers here. They were spraying the side here of the ship and the containers to radiate cool water along the side. On the landward side, they were doing the same thing. And then they had aerials coming up here where firefighters were getting on board. I should have a little Lego man. Firefighters were getting on board here, and they were mounting hoses so that they can spray down on the side of the bulkheads here. This ship is like a big, huge slice of a loaf of bread. All of these are slices, and these are watertight and compartments here, so that basically the ship is divided into these nice little, this is actually how they build them, by the way, is they basically build those slices, pieces of them, and join them together. And so what they were doing is isolating this. They believe the fire is down in here somewhere. They don't want to go in there, because if they go in there and open that hatch, you're going to introduce air, and then you become Kurt Russell in Backdraft, and you don't want that. I've got to get my movie reference in there. All right. Again, if you have questions, feel free. Please drop them in there so I can see them. Again, if you can, capitalize them so I can find them. Sorry, we're going to do this. I'm going to run through some more questions here. Let's see what we got here. Sorry. I'm going to shift you over to, let's see right here. Let's go over to this right here. There we go. Go ahead and let that play. This is, again, that video from before. Are ship fires increasing or just visible? Well, I think it's a little bit of both right now. As I said before, I think we're definitely seeing more of this. Plus, I mean, you're all tuned in to what's going on with shipping, aren't you? I mean, you've liked and subscribed, I hope. Sorry, blatant plug there. I shouldn't do that. Some more questions here. Let's see what we got here. The fire reminds me of the San Diego Navy ship Bonhomme Richard that burned for a week, smelled like a blown transformer for a mile. So one of the big differences here, I will argue, is the Port of LA is much better prepared to handle this ship fire than San Diego, specifically the Navy base at San Diego. For those of you who don't know, I've done a series of videos on the Bonhomme Richard fire. I'm lividly upset about that fire because it never should have gotten out of control. The LA Fire Department, along with the Long Beach Fire Department, do periodic drills where they practice this exact thing. They go out there and they basically will go through this. They will make sure that this, how to bring their material on board, their hoses. Now, one of the things I will mention, and I mentioned it just a little bit ago, is that I thought moving the ship out of the berth isn't always the best idea because they give up a lot of their shore support. Logistically, it becomes much more difficult to fight this fire at sea because you have to stage everything there. Why didn't they remove some of the containers, get better access? Again, you would have to put that crane operator over the fire, and that's always an issue. And I think they talked about it last night. We know from the scanner that they did that. They didn't have to use on top of container cranes. They removed containers from the one that crashed into the bridge operating from the ship to the side of it. They could seek access to source fire. Well, what you're talking about is removing the containers from the dolly. That requires bringing a crane and barge alongside. You have an active fire scene here. It's different during a salvage than when you have active fire going on. And so it's kind of a not the same situation there. And again, they did talk about it last night. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ian. Very nicely to say. Let's see here. Everyone, firefighters know what they're doing. If you're not doing this the way you think they should, then your assumptions of how to put out the fire are wrong. I will say that firefighters have their opinions. And, one of the things that I've done, I've been a volunteer firefighter for over 20 years. I was a mariner. I sailed ships for a living. Learned one of my favorite things to go through was fire education. I've done all the damage control training on ships. I loved it. It's one of the reasons I became a firefighter. I've never been to a fire ever where I came back from it. It didn't say there's something we could learn from. We can do something just a little bit different. Is there any tankage for fuel or anything else between the hold and the hull in that area? So good thing to know is fuel is stored in double bottoms on the bottom of the ship. So ships have double bottoms so that if you rupture the outside of the ship, you flood a void space. But the fuel is actually below the waterline. So it's below the surface of the ship. So the hull is being cooled by the water. So there's no danger about that. Plus, you would have to get the ship a lot hotter to ever become an issue associated with that. And unlike what you see in movies, liquid does not explode. It's vapors that explode. And fuel is in tanks in liquid in bulk liquid. You're not going to see any sort of massive explosion on this. Oh, I don't want to show that. My apologies. Try to run through here and get some questions. They didn't bring crew back per scanner traffic, just 6 people plus pilot. Well, 6 people is all you need for a maneuvering watch. So you can do that with bare minimum on board, probably 2 to 3 up on the bridge, 2 to 3 down in the engine room. They would need to get some line handlers on board. So I do have the question about who was handling the lines, because you have to pass them. Now, they may have used firefighters on board. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to find out. Were firefighters put on bow and stern? Because you would basically grab the lines from the tugboats, but you would have to bring in the lines from shoreside too. So you could do it. It wouldn't be fast, but you can definitely do it. So it'd be really interesting to see what the after action is on that. Is there any mitigation for the contaminated water used for firefighting operations running off the ship? So I think I showed this before, and I'll show it again. I'm going to take me out of the picture here. This water you're seeing running off the ship right here, this is the water that's hitting the side of those containers and coming off the side. So it's nothing more than a washdown right there. That's not really contaminated water. Where you may have contaminated water, if there's going to be water, is if water seeps inside this burning area on the hold, and if they decide to pump the water off. Now, I will say this: water on a ship is pumped into tanks, and then that water has to go through a system before it can be pumped overboard. They would probably not pump anything overboard. They'll probably hold it in place. If you do see water being pumped off in certain areas, it's probably ballast water that's being done to adjust the trim of the vessel. They want to make sure the vessel doesn't go down by the bow too much, because they are flooding a lot of water on the ship here. Let's see right here. The 6 remaining on board, are they probably all officers? Probably. I would think that you get the ship's captain on board, obviously, chief mate, probably another deck officer on board. You would probably have the chief engineer, the first assistant engineer, and probably one of his officers on board. So yeah, probably those 6 are on board. We do not know the nationality of the crew. I haven't heard that yet, what nationality they are. So ONE, it's a Panamanian flag vessel. The most common mariners out there are Filipinos. Then you have Indian, Indonesian, Chinese, Russian, Ukrainian. So no telling. Question: is there a substantially increased risk of container collapse due to the fire? That is an issue you would start worrying about. The containers could start to buckle because of the heat load that's on them. I would be more concerned with the containers inside the ship. Now, inside the ship, the containers are actually in kind of cell guides. So when you load the containers in there are little guides that the containers go down in, so that when you're putting the container down into it, as you kind of come down here and you bring the container in, there's a cell guide, so it keeps the container in there. And one of the problems you have is when you bring containers into a container ship, this is why you need to make sure the ship is perfectly level, not tipping fore and aft or left or port and starboard. So this is why container ships have a lot of stability issues. They have a very elaborate trim and ballast system to keep the ship down. And one of the things that we know they were doing last night was reading the draft marks, knowing how deep the vessel was up forward. And they wanted to measure that to make sure that the ship wasn't going down. Go on here. So what would happen if this happened in the middle of the ocean between China and America? Are there deep sea firefighting ships? King, great question about that. So we just had an incident a couple of months ago on a car carrier called the Midas something. It's going to blank on my name here. I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to play some quick little research here. Morning Midas. So there was a car carrier called the Morning Midas. It broke. It had a car deck fire in the middle of the Pacific. The ship's crew tried to put it out using their fixed firefighting systems. On car carriers, you have a system that allows you to flood the decks with CO2, with carbon dioxide. That did not extinguish the fire because we believe the fire involved not just conventional cars, but also electric vehicles. We don't know what started it, but we know electrical vehicles were on board. Electrical vehicles, when they burn, don't go out. I mean, they just don't. Lithium-ion batteries burn. They burn really bad. Again, firefighter, been to EV fires. When you get an EV fire, just stand there and watch it. There's not much you can do. So they did sortie out a salvage crew. Resolve Marine was a company that was hired. They got out there. But by the time it was too late, there was another container ship just recently off the coast of West Africa, a Maersk ship that had a container fire. They had a fire on board. What the crew did was they set up fire monitoring systems. They sailed toward shore, and they were met by shoreside support salvage teams that helped them extinguish the fire. But the worst case scenario at sea is fire. I can say I sailed on ships, and I had 2 fires on board. And the worst feeling you have with a fire is it gets away from you. Next, what are new challenges? What new challenges are created by bringing her out to the breakwater? Well, it's really just a logistics issue more than anything else. Right now, I would argue she's stable. They're going to monitor the ship, make sure she's not listing, not down by the bow. They'll have to get the ship's crew on board to make sure the ship's systems are up and running so that they can do that. They're going to have to shuttle out there. So we know, like, for example, there's a large crew out there in boats right now. You've got several tugs on standby. You've got right now, I'm looking at it, Long Beach Fireboat number 20 is out there. You've got a couple of the Los Angeles police boats out there. You've got the Coast Guard cutter Barracuda out there. It just makes it logistically more challenging. When you had her pier side, you can, bring crews on and off at whim. They're going to have to find a berth for her to bring her. She's got to come back into port at some point because they're going to have to get those top containers off her deck, and they're going to have to get down into that hold. To get the containers off, you're going to need cranes. And so she may have to come back into LA again at some point. They will probably wait until the smoke has diminished to a point where they don't have to do the shelter in place again and cause problems. Let's see. If you're interested, a ship after major fire check, Maersk Honum. That was a hellacious fire that Maersk Honum had. That was, if you ever want to look at a ship fire, that was a ship fire. Let's see here. Going to be wrapping it up here in a few minutes. So any other questions you guys have, please feel free to get them in there. I apologize if I miss them. Okay, it's just a funny comment right there. Let's see right there. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through some questions here real quick. Scrolling through. Oh, a couple questions right here. Here we go. What does ONE stand for? ONE is the Ocean Network Express. It is a conglomerate of 3 Japanese shipping firms, MOL, K-Line, and NYK. It's a lot of initials. But ONE is a big major shipping firm. You can always tell them by that pink color they have here. Go back to over here for them. You can always tell by that very, very kind of aqua pink color they have there. I'm sure I got the color wrong. Is that an off-the-shelf model or a bespoke teaching aid? That's actually my referring to my Maersk Lego ship, which is a great prop. This was actually done a few years ago when Maersk Lines did a ship called the Triple E. So Maersk was building at the time the largest container ship in the world, and they teamed up with Lego to build the Maersk Triple E Lego ship. Both Lego and Maersk are from Denmark, so it was a natural kind of pairing there together. I'm trying not to break it while I move it around, which is probably not, it doesn't spell well for me, I think. Let's see what else we got here. So status of the fire here again. Ship is still smoldering out at the anchorage right now. LA and Long Beach boats are out there. There are 3 of them. They're taking 4-hour shifts, spraying water so that they do not basically wear themselves out. I would argue that the LA Fire Department did a fantastic job last night. I want to really compliment LA Fire Department, the personnel in the port of LA. Gene Soroka and his crew there did a great job. I want to compliment the ILWU Local 13 crew that are out there too. They were working the ship at that moment. They reacted extremely well in handling this situation. And again, most importantly, nobody got hurt, which is really always a key major thing here. Do we know exactly what material is combusting? We don't. And what they would have done at this point is have the manifest. All ships are required to have a copy of their cargo manifest at the gangway so that when there's a fire, when you go on board a ship, there's actually a huge kind of tube that is kept at the gangway, and that has all the ship plans there. But then the ship's crew is supposed to provide you with a copy of the manifest. So what is loaded on board? And this way you can basically operate. There's also a system on a ship that allows you to tie in your fire trucks into the ship's fire system so you can charge it. Now, obviously, you can't do that now. This is the other thing is they would have to, if they're fighting the fire at sea here, one of the things that really becomes an issue here, I want to go back over to here a minute. Let's see if I can pull this up here for you. Here we go. So if you're going to start trying to fight this fire now, you either have to bring one of the tugboats alongside at this moment and run fire hoses from the tugboat, which you can. They have these huge manifolds, they're called, where you can hook into the tugboat and pump water up to the ship. Or you can hook into the ship system. What you usually need to hook into the ship system are some sort of adapters so that your hoses, your fire hoses, can adapt to the ship's threads, to the type of thread. They're not the same. One of the biggest problems, this happened on the Bonhomme Richard fire, is that the shoreside firefighting crew came up and they could not basically adapt their containers, or excuse me, their hoses into the threads. Comment started by an electrical fire may be close to the truth, just not a ship's system electrical fire. Yeah, it could be. I mean, could be electrical fire in the cargo hold. We just don't know. And again, it's going to take a lot to get into that ship in there. Question, why no containment booms? Excellent question right there, Laura. That's a good question. I think they would probably be moving containment booms into the area here fairly soon. This imagery was taken fairly early today. So one of the things a containment boom is a floating boom that you surround a vessel with so that if anything spills from the vessel, it can be contained and then cleaned up later on. Very good idea. I think they will probably be looking into this. If fire reaches upper stacks, is dumping containers overboard an option? It's always an option to do that. You got to be careful about that because containers will float away and you may cause more contamination damage with what's in the containers. Plus, when you start dumping containers end over end, whatever in them goes end over end, and you may cause more problems. The problem is you're only going to be able to really collapse those containers closest to the side. And what you wind up is making a more difficult mess to get into the ship and open up the hatches. If they get the fire out, will they go back and empty the rest of the? Yeah, they will clear the entire ship off. They will offload. There's still good cargo on board, so people are waiting to get their goods. So yeah, they will definitely go in there to try to take them off. Let's see what else we got here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some more stuff out here. Trying to avoid the same questions. Next question here. Sorry. Do you think they will change how batteries are shipped in future, mitigate risks? It's a nice nightmare getting batteries in Alaska. Yeah, lithium-ion batteries are the bear of existence right now. They're the really tough one. They're causing a lot of issues, fires. It's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Question, was it easy using StreamYard during the live last night? No, I'm using it right now. I love StreamYard. It's really good. My only question with StreamYard is it's extremely expensive to get a subscription to it. Hence, you see up in the corner there, powered by StreamYard. It's a little pricey for some reason. I don't know why. Would the crew have started to fight the fire at the dock, or did they hand it off to the fire department? So we know that this fire happened very quickly, and they called the fire department almost immediately. There was a very rapid response in. So we don't know if the crew initiated anything. If they did anything, they would have started sealing and shutting down compartments and areas on the ship to prevent the spread of smoke and heat. So that's probably what they do. Now they are offshore. Are they fighting the fire with the ship's fire pumps? New York Maritime grad, 2001. Hey, man, it's always good to have a domer here. They're probably would be using, if they have firefighting crews on board, they would be using the ship systems right now, because they do not have a tugboat or one of the fireboats alongside. Right now, it's Long Beach Fireboat 20, which is spraying the fire as we speak. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here because it's almost an hour here. And I think that's always about the limit of everybody. I want to thank the about 2,500 people who tuned in. How fire retardant are the containers? Containers are pretty resistant. The problem you have with the containers is the containers will heat up, and then the material inside will reach a point. They will reach a point where basically they could combust. Question: why doesn't the fireboat get closer to the ship? No reason. If you can hurl water at that distance, you use the distance. No reason to get closer. Get yourself into the gases, the dangerous gases. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. You don't want to be on oxygen tanks. So really no reason for doing that. Let's see. Last one here. Let's do this. Boya. Wow, Boya, thank you so much. Brandon here. Thanks for all the global shipping coverage. You and Juan Brown are my favorites to watch. For those of you who don't know, Juan Brown over at the Blanca Lirio channel does a great job. If you're looking for someone who does aviation, Juan is your man. I emulate Juan as much as I can. How often does a fire like this happen? U.S. globally, likely to happen in L.A. with the resource. So how often? So I do a video every year on a report that comes out from Allianz. Allianz is an insurance company, and they do a yearly snapshot of fires around the world. And one of the things we note is we're losing less ships sinking, but fires are increasing. The number of major fires is going up. And so one of the things I have advocated for quite a bit is for more fire protection in our ports. LA and Long Beach, if you're going to have a fire, be in the port of LA or Long Beach. That's the best place you're going to have a fire. Everybody wants to have dog ports around the world, dog American ports. LA and Long Beach is showing you exactly why these are great ports right here, because of this system they have, literally smooth execution by the LA Fire Department. Not all ports have that. Again, go back to San Diego with the Bonhomme Richard fire. That was terrible. That was a catastrophe right there. Luckily, to happen in LA with the resources, exactly. I would say that we were very lucky to have this happen in the port of LA. I know LA probably doesn't think that right now. They're going to have a lot of issues, but they're very lucky to have that. All right, I'll do one last one. Could they drop the anchor without having to have any crew at the bow? No, you have to have crew at the bow. Unlike the movie Battleship, there's not a magic button you push to do this. You actually have to go and physically unhook safeties from the anchor. You have to disengage the clutch. You have to disengage a brake, and you have to spill out the anchor. You don't need power, but you need somebody there. Somebody physically has to do it. And more than likely, it was the chief mate or one of the officers who was there that went to the bow to go ahead and do that. All right, a little bit over an hour. I thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'll probably do a follow-up video later on when we get more information. Probably not a live feed, but I'll probably do a follow-up video. If you can, if you haven't done so, I know it's blatant and I apologize, but I'll do it anyway. If you can, subscribe and like what's going on with shipping. I really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel grow a little bit. Started 4.5 years ago with a couple of hundred subscribers, over 560,000 subscribers now. So if you like shipping and you want to know a little bit more about shipping, and if you want to see a grown man play with a massive Lego boat, then this is the channel for you right here. What's going on with shipping? I don't know why you wouldn't want to tune into this. All right, until our next episode, this is Sal signing off. Thanks, everybody.